First, I want to talk about Tony Ferguson versus Justin Gaethje for the lightweight interim title. I mean, I can't believe that Tony Ferguson took a fight like this, such a dangerous fight, considering everyone knows that he's the number one contender. Everyone knows that it's out of him or Khabib to be the best lightweight in the world. I mean, I'm not complaining because obviously we get to watch it, such a fan-friendly fight. But he won this interim title from Kevin Lee back in the day. He got an injury and then he got stripped of it. And then he's come back. He fought Pettis, fought Cerrone, and now he was meant to fight Khabib on the 18th, and Khabib couldn't go to the States. So then now he's fighting again, Justin Gaethje, for an interim title, but not the title. You can argue and say that he's probably the best lightweight of all time without winning a title. But anyway, let's get into this fight, right? So let's get into Justin Gaethje and his record. So he came into the UFC at 17-0, right? And then the first match he gave him, the UFC gave him, was Michael Johnson. Michael Johnson's a really good fighter. He's beaten Tony Ferguson before early in Ferguson's career, before Ferguson went on his 12 streak. He's beaten many opponents, and someone like Justin Gaethje coming into from World Series fighting, I think it is, had to prove himself and beat Michael Johnson, wore him out. Michael Johnson was so tired, and then he TKO'd him with a knee before Herb Dean came and stopped him. So Justin Gaethje did really well. So then the UFC decided to give him an opponent like Eddie Alvarez to fight. And obviously this was a bit different. And Gaethje used his brawling tactics again. But in that fight, Eddie Alvarez proved to be the more durable fighter. He managed to knock out Justin Gaethje. The ref had to come in and stop the fight. Then they gave him another fan-friendly fight, right? A brawl with Dustin Poirier. And again, the same thing happened. Dustin Poirier was the more durable fighter eventually, and Gaethje kind of ran out of gas towards the end as well, and the ref had to stop the fight. But since then, Gaethje has now proven himself that he belongs in the UFC by knocking out James Vick, then knocking out Edson Barboza, and then KOing Donald Cerrone. I mean, that's amazing. He's now on a 3-fight win streak, and he's got something to prove. And he's given this opportunity, so he needs to snatch this opportunity. He needs to take this opportunity. He needs to take the title now. This is a step up in competition compared to the last 3 he's fought, but he's proven himself to be in this position. Now let's talk about Tony Ferguson's record. This guy's on a 12-win streak with a 15-1 record in the UFC. Normally, when you have a 15-1 record in the UFC, you are the champion. You're not fighting for number one contendership. You are the champion. You probably have defended it 6-7 times. Think about that. 15-1 record, and he's on a 12-win streak, and he's not a title holder. It's crazy. But the guys he has fought, he's beaten Dos Anjos. He's beaten Edson Barboza. He's beaten Donald Cerrone. He's beaten Anthony Pettis. He has gone through the lightweight lineup. He doesn't need to fight anyone else apart from Khabib. But let's just talk about Anthony Pettis' fight, right? So everyone knows that he had an injury when he was going to fight Khabib for the 4th time, and he had an injury. And the injury is where he tore his ligament from his leg. And then therefore he had to take months and months off. Normally they say that's about 9 to 12 month recovery before you can go in the octagon again. The guy did it in 6 months and then fought Anthony Pettis. Beat him. He did get dropped in that fight. I know people saw, but his recovery and the way he damaged Anthony Pettis during the point of recovery was sublime. And then he went on to fight Donald Cerrone. And again, he stopped Donald Cerrone. You know, Donald Cerrone couldn't fight the next round. I know it was controversial. He did land after the bell, but still, everyone knew that eventually Tony Ferguson would get to him. And he did. He got through him. Now he's having to fight someone like Justin Gaethje, someone who is a baller, who's a come forward fighter. So with Justin Gaethje, right? The good points about Justin Gaethje is that he pressures you. That means he's relentless. He doesn't give you any breathing space. But not only that, he loves to use leg kicks in order to restrict your movement. So he will try to damage that leg so you can't really move around much. So he can just pressure you and keep landing those kicks, landing punches to the body, throwing punches to the head. And then also what Justin Gaethje wants to do is he wants to knock you out. He doesn't want to play around. He doesn't want to go past the fourth round or the fifth round. He wants to knock you out. And he's got heart of a champion because he can go 4 to 5 rounds and still swing. He might be tired, but he still would swing. Now, Tony Ferguson, he fights also an aggressive style. He's a pressure fighter. He lands knees to that leg. But this guy's looking to inflict damage. He is looking to hurt you. He's not just looking to knock you out. He's looking to hurt you. Like, those elbows are crazy. Like the stuff he did, the elbow he threw to Anthony Pettis when he was recovering. He did like a spinning elbow, and which landed on Anthony Pettis, and everyone thought that it was Tony Ferguson's blood, but no, Anthony Pettis was the one gashed when he was trying to land at the top. And then do you remember Edson Barboza's where he stepped forward, and he landed the elbow? That was genius, and that opened up Edson Barboza. And then he went for his submissions. His submissions is amazing. Like, so he's got a great jiu-jitsu background, but he can land. He's got one submission in particular, the Darth choke, which he can land at any point. And the thing about Tony Ferguson compared to any other fighter in the lightweight division, even with Khabib, is that his cardio is on another level. That means his pace, he pushes the pace from the first to the fifth. If you watch his fights, just watch round 3. See when he's coming out for round 3 or round 4, whether he's breathing heavy. He never breathed heavy. Justin Gaethje, his keys to victory is that he's going to have to pressure Tony Ferguson. He has to be the one that pushes him back, not the other way around, so he can dictate the pace. Because if Tony Ferguson's the one pushing forward, Justin Gaethje doesn't know how to fight backwards. I haven't seen it in his fights that he fights well backwards. He just takes punishment. And then the other thing is he needs to test Ferguson's leg. I know Ferguson's leg has held up for 2 fights, but we still don't know. He might not hold up this fight. So let's test the leg. And lastly, obviously, he needs to be the one that lands that KO punch that he's got, that right hand, the deadly right hand. He should try to land that, and he should do it within the first 2 rounds. If he can land the shot and Ferguson drops, he needs to be able to finish it as quick as possible. Because I think if it goes anywhere past the second round, I don't think Ferguson's going to lose after that. I think Ferguson will take over. He will land at will. Because if you look at statistics in UFC.com, right, Justin Gaethje, average absorption of strikes is 10 per minute. 10 per minute. If you're allowing Tony Ferguson to land 10 strikes per minute, that fight is not going to last a round. He doesn't land to knock you out. He lands to cut you, to hurt you. I'm predicting that Tony Ferguson's going to win the fight. And I think it's going to be comfortable. I know a lot of people are going to have comments about this afterwards, but if you have to trust a guy who's won 12 in a row to think that he's going to win his 13th fight. I just think that Tony Ferguson's going to be able to push Gaethje back. After that first round, he's going to be able to push Gaethje back. He's going to be able to dictate the fight. And then it will get into a brawl. It might get into a brawl, but eventually I think Ferguson's going to inflict so much damage. He's going to open him up, and then I'm expecting a TKO. I'm expecting the ref to stop it after the 3rd or the 4th round.